Today we're going to make a quilt-like drawing inspired by Faith Ringgold that we learned about the other day. So you will need a pencil and eraser. You'll need a black marker or a Sharpie, and you'll need some crayons or colored pencils. And if you have a box of markers, that will help too. You'll also need a piece of paper. If you only have the school paper with the lines on it, that's totally fine. So let's get started. Okay, the first thing we're gonna do is we're going to give ourselves about 3 fingers from the edge of our paper and put a little mark on this side. Go down here and do the same thing. And then you're gonna do that all the way around your paper. So you line up your first finger with the edge of your paper, and then you put a little mark after your third finger. And you do that towards the bottom and top of each side. This gives you a general idea of making, we're going to connect the dots and make a rectangle around the paper that's about the same distance from the edge of the paper on every side. Okay, so now we're going to connect these to make a rectangle. And it doesn't have to be perfect. We just want to get the general shape of a rectangle. Kind of looks better the more not perfect it is. Because it looks more handmade that way. Like a handmade quilt. Okay, so now you're gonna divide up this border, just like Faith Ringgold did, with different patches around the outside. So we're gonna make them into squares. So let's make the corner squares. And then we'll just divide this big rectangle into 2 squares by putting a line down the middle. Okay, so you can see on that side we already have 4 quilt squares. Okay, let's do the same thing on the other side. We make the corners, and then we find the middle of this rectangle right here, and we make that into 2 squares. Okay, now we're gonna find the middle of this long rectangle on the top and make a line, and then find the middle of that rectangle, make a line, find the middle of this rectangle and make a line. So now you should have 6 squares across the long sides and 4 squares across the shorter sides. So let's do our last side. So we find the middle of this rectangle, draw a straight line to the edge of the paper, find the middle of this one, same thing, and the middle of this one, same thing. Okay, now we're gonna trace all those lines with our black Sharpie, marker, crayon, whatever it is. Just do, if you can, do black. So we're gonna trace all these lines. Now that we know that our pencil lines are exactly where we want them. You don't get exactly on top of your pencil, that's okay, because we're gonna go back through and erase all the pencil marks. Okay, so now take the eraser on my pencil and go through, and you can just erase on top of the Sharpie or the black marker, and you'll get all the eraser marks. I mean, all the pencil marks off of there. Okay, now you're gonna think about a memorable event in your life. It could be something happy or sad, scary, or exciting, anything. It could be what's going on right now with the pandemic. It could be somewhere you went on vacation or on a field trip, or maybe you had a baby brother or sister was born, or you got a puppy or a kitten or something like that. You're gonna think of something that has happened in your life that you want to tell your story, just like Faith Ringgold. She told her story through her quilts and her paintings. So mine is that when I was little, my parents would save up and save up and save up their money, and we would be able to go, because you know, I grew up in Washington State. We would be able to go down to the Oregon coast and go to the beach, and it was like the highlight of the year when we got to go. And we got to go almost every year, one vacation. Okay, so the beach that we would go to the most, I'm gonna draw the horizon line. That's where the ground meets the sky. And the beach where we would go was called Cannon Beach, and it had these big rocks out in the ocean, and they're called Haystack Rock. And it was just really pretty. And so we would go and play in the sand. I was just a little girl, and I would get a bucket and a shovel and just play all day out there. And there was like a little stream that ran from like the land that was far away out to the ocean. So now let me do where the top of the ocean meets the sky. And now I'm gonna make these into waves. Okay, and then I can erase this guideline that I made. And I can even do like little waves like this. This is just my drawing. You're gonna draw whatever comes to your mind for something that's memorable that happened in your life to tell your story. So now let me outline all these pencil lines with a marker so you can see them better. So these rocks were out in the ocean. I'm gonna add some clouds. Okay, you can see that a lot better, right? Okay, something we could add right now is like these are like patches on a quilt, and it's like they're sewn together. We can draw these little lines like this that are like the threads, like they're being sewn together. So you want to do that on every straight line that we drew at first. And each line is about 1 finger width apart. Once you draw the first few, you'll kind of get the hang of it, and you won't really need to use your finger as a guide after a while. Okay, this makes it look like, oh, okay, is that a quilt? You know, people can just kind of recognize it right away with these sewing lines. It's like the thread holding all the pieces of the quilt together. make sure they're like evenly spaced apart. There we go. Okay. So make sure that you are in the picture. I'm gonna erase some, I'm gonna erase some of my pencil lines. I don't want them to show. Those are just guides. So you can basically like practice before you really decide, okay, yeah, that's exactly where I want the lines to go. Okay, so you need to make sure you're in your picture doing what you remember, which is so memorable for you in your life. And I'm gonna show you a way to draw yourself that's a little bit easier. Okay, so I was a little girl, so I'm gonna draw my head as a circle, and then I'm gonna draw myself holding a bucket. I'm gonna just draw like a stick figure. Okay, so after you draw your stick figure, what you do is you trace around these lines to make your body thicker, so you're not just a stick figure. So you just trace around. Try to show yourself in motion, not just standing with your arms right next to your sides. Okay, so then inside here, with your stick figure, you just erase your stick figure in there. And you can draw like your fingers. We have 5 fingers. 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's do one right here. Woo. And I want to kind of adjust it however you want, whatever you think makes it look better. And I'm going to make sure I draw some bare feet since I'm running around on the beach. Ooh, I look funny. Okay. I'm all like, woo, running around. Okay, and then I'm going to draw my eyes. Remember, eyes are like football shapes, and I have a big smile because I'm having lots of fun, and I had long golden hair back then. And then I had a Cookie Monster swimming suit. So I'm going to draw a cookie on my swimming suit. Okay, now I'm going to trace all these lines again. And you can make adjustments to your lines as you trace it with your marker. My markers are kind of big. I probably should have drawn me first, so I had plenty of room, but that's okay. And then here's my pail that I put sand in, and my little shovel. And it's funny because I would always, every year, I would like, me or my sisters would like accidentally let our buckets and our shovels like float down the down the stream to the ocean, and we'd be like, oh, no. Okay, so now in each of these squares that are like the patches of the quilt, you're gonna draw some design or symbol that represents your story, okay? So you want to go do a pattern of design, symbol, design, symbol, design, symbol, okay? So my first design I want to do is going to be like waves. Just like wave designs. I'm going to do them diagonal. So you get to decide what you want to do, okay? So I'll draw the design, and then I'll go back through and cover it with my marker. Oops, see how much I'm like not drawing right on my lines? That's okay because I'm gonna erase them. Okay, and then I want to color these in. So I'm going to take, if you take a crayon, I'm going to take 2 different blues. You take a crayon, you can color more area at once. If you use colored pencils, you can kind of get into smaller areas, and it takes a little bit longer to color the area. Since I'm trying to make this video so it's not too long, I'm gonna use crayons so it'll go a little faster. So I'm gonna make a pattern inside my pattern of color. I'm gonna do this blue every other row. And then I'm gonna do this blue on the other rows. So I have a pattern inside a pattern. A pattern is when you have 2 or more colors or lines or some kind of art element that repeats themselves in a certain order. So this is an A-B pattern because it's just 2 colors. A, B, A, B, A. Okay, now I'm gonna do a symbol. So I think the symbol I could do here would be my bucket for digging up sand. Okay, so I draw my bucket. Oops. With my pencil, and then I use my marker. And I'm gonna have, let's see, I think I'm gonna have a pink bucket. I'm gonna make it lighter on the outside and darker pink on the inside. And then on the outside, I'm gonna make it brown like the sand. Okay, now, so I do pattern, symbol, pattern, symbol. So I'm gonna do what next? Pattern. Pattern, I think this time I'm gonna do just different color straight lines. Okay. So I always do pencil first in case I want to change my mind. And then I trace over it so it can be nice and bold. And I'm going to do different greens for this pattern. I'm going to do an ABC pattern. So this could kind of be like representing the seaweed. So I do this green, that's A. Then I do this green, that's B, and then I do this green, that's C. So then I start again. A, B, C. This green's just a little bit lighter than that one, huh? And then back to A. Okay, so what's next? That's right, a symbol. I think for this symbol, I'm gonna do the cookie from my Cookie Monster swimsuit, and I'm gonna do like a bite out of the cookie, and it's gonna be a chocolate chip cookie. Nom nom nom. So since Cookie Monster is blue, I'm gonna do a blue background. So the picture in the middle tells a story, but also each symbol and pattern can tell part of the story too. And then here's the chocolate chip, so I'm just going to use my marker. Oops, I forgot to trace my cookie with Sharpie. Okay, so I'm just going to keep doing that all the way around, okay? And then make sure to color your picture too. So I'm going to have to color my story picture here. This is going to be like a sea foam green for or sea foam, like a greenish blue. Sometimes the ocean is like a greenish blue. You can pick whatever colors you want. They can be the real colors from your story, or you can make totally different colors and make it look like totally different world, but it's still your story. It's however you see it. So you can see how I'm just gonna fill this whole thing in. Make sure the whole page is covered with color, because that's what really brings your story to life. Oh, I gotta erase some lines right here. I need a new eraser. Okay. So I'm not gonna finish this whole thing because otherwise it'll be like a really long video for you to watch, but hope you totally get the idea. You can always ask me questions in Google Classroom. Just make sure you tell your own story of something that happened to you in your life that you really remember really well. Remember all the details for it. Okay? Have fun. I love and miss y'all. Bye.